Okay, for this long division example, we're going to look at two-digit divisors. The divisor is the number on the left outside the house, and it's 2 digits. Okay, we're going to follow the same process as before. Divide, multiply, subtract, compare, bring down, and then return back up to the top until we get to the end of our problem. So our number this time is 50. 50 can't go into 7, right? It's much too big. So we'll put a little X there to remind ourselves not to write any of our numbers there. How many times does 50 go into 72? Well, 50, 100, so it only goes in one time. Let's multiply. 1 times 50 is 50. Let's subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. Compare. Is 22 less than 50? It sure is, so we can go ahead and bring down our next number, which is 7. Okay, how many times does 50 go into 227? Now there's a couple of techniques for doing this. One is where we're actually crossing off digits and zeros, but for most students who are learning long division like this with 2 digits, that's a little bit overwhelming. So I'm going to show you a strategy that students find helpful, and I'm going to write the multiples of my divisor here on the left-hand side. So 150 is just 50. Now I'm going to add 50 to that, and I get 100. So that's 2 50s. If I add 50 again, I get 150. That's 3 50s. If I add 50 again, that is 200, which is 4 50s. And if I add 50 again, I get 250, and that is 5 50s. So you see here my number is 227. 250 is past that. It's already too big, so I don't need to go anymore right now. I'm going to look here where my numbers are 50, 100, 150, 200, and 250. I want to find the number that's as close as possible to 227 without going over. So that number is going to be 200. So I'm going to write 200 here. I'm going a little bit out of order. Actually, what I should do is write my 4 first. So we've got 4, it goes in 4 times, so we're going to write a 4 up here. Okay, multiply 4 times 50. Well, we've already done that. 4 times 50 is 200, which I've written here. We're going to do subtraction now. 7 minus 0 is 7. 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0, but I'm not going to write that 0. We're going to compare. Is 27 less than 50? It sure is, so we've done it right. And then we would bring down, except there's nothing left to bring down. We've come to the end of our problem. So this number here at the bottom is called a remainder. So we have 14 with a remainder of 27. All right, let's look at another example with a 2-digit divisor. So 40 into 5, nope, that doesn't work. Let's put a mark there. 40 into 53, yes. How many times does 40 go into 53? Only one time. Let's multiply. 1 times 40 is 40. Now let's subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. Now compare. Is 13 less than 40? Yep, it is. So we can go ahead and bring down our next number, which is 4. Okay, 40 into 134. Again, there are quicker ways to do this, but you really need to be comfortable with this process and also with your times tables. So I have a phrase, when in doubt, write it out. So we're going to go ahead and write it out here on the side. So our first 40, or 40 times 1 is 40. Okay, I'm going to add 40 to that and get 80. Okay, that's 2 40s. I'm going to add 40 again. That is 3 40s, 120. Let's add 40 again. 6, 1, that's 4 40s. Okay, so now I want to look at these numbers that have a number next to them like this. How close can I get to 134 without going over? So 120, then 160. 160 is too big, so I'm going to go back to 120. That's 3 times. So that tells me 40 goes into 134 3 times. Now let's multiply. 3 times 40. Well, I've already done that right here. It's 120. Let's subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, but I'm not going to write the 0. Let's compare. Is 14 less than 40? Yes, it is. So we're doing it right, and we can go ahead and bring down our next number, which is a 2. Okay, so let's look over here on the left. How close can I get to 142 without going over? I've got 40, 80, 120, 160. 160 is too much, so I'm going to have to go back to 120 again, and that is 3 times. So let's write a 3 and multiply. Again, we're just going to use that number we wrote down, not all of these numbers here. 3 times 40 is 120, because we already worked that out. And now we're going to subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. All right, we're going to compare. 22, is it less than 40? Yes, it is. So we're doing it right, and we can bring down, except we don't have any more numbers to bring down. We've come to the end of our problem. So we're going to go ahead and write our remainder up here. Remainder 22. Okay, for our last example, we're going to do one where our 2-digit divisor does not go into the first 2 digits. So it doesn't go into 1, 30 cannot go into 17. So now we have to do 30 into 3 digits to start off with. Again, if we know our times tables, this will be a lot easier, but let's look at what we can do if we don't have that knowledge already built in. Okay, so we're going to write our multiples of 30. So 1 times 30 is 30. Let's add another 30. 0, that's 60. So that's 2 30s. Let's add another 30. Because again, we're trying to get close to 176. That's 3 30s. We have to keep going. 9 plus 3 is 12. That's 4 30s. Let's keep going. 0, 5, 1. That's 5 30s. Let's do another one. That's 6 30s. Okay, so now we want to look at this list. How close can we get to 176 without going over? Well, we've got 120, 150, and then 180. 180 is too big, so we're going to go back up to 150. So that means 30 goes into 176 5 times. So let's write our 5 up here. Now we're going to multiply. 5 times 30. Well, we've already done that, haven't we? 150. And now we're going to subtract. 6 minus 0 is 6. 7 minus 5 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0, but I'm not going to write that 0. Let's compare. Is 26 less than 30? Yep, it is. So we're doing it right, and we can go ahead and bring down our next number, which is 3. Okay, 263. Well, I've only gone to 180, so I need to keep going a little bit further. So let's add on another 30. 0, 1, 1, that's 2. We have to keep going. That's 7 30s. Let's do another one. 0, 4, 2, 263. Let's keep going. That's 8 30s. And let's do a last one. 270. And that's 9 30s. Okay. You'll actually never need to go further than 9 because the number of times it goes in should always be a single digit. So if you end up with 10 or something, it means you've gone wrong somewhere else in the problem. So 9's as far as we will ever need to go. So let's check here. Our number is 263. How close can we get without going over? 210, 240, 270. 270 is too big, so let's go back up to 280. 240, I apologize. And our number is 8. So 30 goes into 263 8 times. Let's put our 8 up here. Now let's multiply. 8 times 30. We've already done that. It's 240. Let's subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, let's compare. Is 23 less than 30? Yes, it is. So we can go ahead and bring down, except we don't have any more numbers to bring down. This is the end of our problem. So this number here is called the remainder. We're going to write remainder 23. So 58, remainder 23.